いい加減おとなしく切られやがれ。
Alright, so welcome to the first module, and this is also going to be a very important module. I mean, every module is important, but this right here has been something recently in my life that has given me a complete mindset shift, and it's going to give you perspective as to a type of mindset shift that you should probably happen in your life, and a paradigm mentality that you should probably adopt very soon. Now, one of the things that I realized about Sasuke very early on was that he was very polarizing, especially when he was going after Itachi. For Sasuke Uchiha, he understood that it was rather enemy or ally, but there was never a gray zone in between. And see, this is something that most people actually don't really have, especially in real life in our society, because we are taught to be so weak, so cowardice, just so very non-confrontational, right? Most people in our society do not have a direct sense of who is their allies and who is against them. Everyone's just living in this gray zone because everyone is so afraid of confrontation. Everyone is so afraid of battle. And this is exactly what this module is on. Battle war. Throughout every single time period in history, from the beginning of mankind, every human being understood who was their ally and who was their enemy. But this is only in the 21st century, right? This modern contemporary time of society where it is gray zoned. People don't really know who's actually with them, who's actually against them. No one tests their friends. No one puts the people that they love and their quote unquote allies through tests and through trials and tribulations to actually have them prove their loyalty, right? Everyone is simply in a gray zone. The people that you call your friends are really acquaintances. The people you say you love are really just your friends. Everyone's in a gray zone. And this is the first time in human history where a society has been like this. And then you wonder why we have all the problems that we do. For Sasuke Uchiha, everything was extremely binary. It was black or white. You were an ally, you were on Team Sasuke, or you were against him. There was never a gray zone. And this is the reason why he was able to cut off his friends from the Hidden Leaf Village, Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi, and all his peers in the Hidden Leaf Village. The reason why he did that was because he understood that if he must go through battle, there cannot be gray zone, because where there is gray zone, then there will be victims. Where there's victims, then you just look bad, right? And things are just going to get in the way. This is just going to be a whole mess of events, right? So Sasuke understood this internally. So he did the absolute best thing that he could possibly do, which is cut off people who are in that gray zone. Naruto was a friend, yes, but Naruto was not going to be alongside him in his mission. Therefore, he is now an enemy. Sakura, Kakashi, the rest of the Hidden Leaf Village, the same thing. It wasn't that necessarily that Sasuke hated them or wanted to hate them, but it was, however, I am on a mission. I am about to go into battle. If you are not fighting with me, then why am I associated with you? Why are you here? If you do not offer anything for my mission in life, why am I associating with you? So it wasn't necessarily the fact that Sasuke hated, Team 7 and the Hidden Leaf. They just simply did not serve his mission. And him being the very mature individual he was in terms of his decision making, at least, he understood that things are binary and they had to be, and he did the right choice by actually cutting off the people who did not serve his mission. And in real life, you must do the same thing. So let's get practical. What should you do in order to have this binary outlook on life? The people that you are surrounded by, you need to understand, you need to become very transparent and make it very clear who is on your team and who's not. If you have friends who hang around you and suck energy from you and steal energy from you and steal your time, but they're not fighting alongside you in your mission in life, then why are they there? Why are they your friend? They're simply pulling things away from you, but not adding any value. Why are they on your team if they're not going to fight alongside you in battle? Before we actually start to dive deep into the topic that I want to talk about in this module, before we even go into it, I need to make it very clear that you have to sit down, preferably after this module ends, but you need to sit down, make a list of all the people that you know, and make it very clear to yourself who is an ally, who is an enemy, and most importantly, who's in the gray zone. If you have people that you know that you hang around with that don't offer any value to you, that don't even agree with your belief systems, that don't even want to fight your mission, that's fine. Don't be a dick. Don't be a jackass. Don't just, you don't have to be a dick about cutting them off, but you need to become very transparent and very clear as to who is on your team and who is not. And the people that are not on your team but claim to be friends, then you need to figure out where they stand for two reasons. One, why would you want to give your energy and your time to somebody or something that would never reciprocate that energy and time? It makes zero sense. Why are you hanging out with people that would never fight with you in battle, that would never be by your side during the hardships? Why would you want to do that? It seems very inefficient, seems very immature and ineffective in life, especially if you want to get what you want out of life. Sasuke understood that for his mission of whether killing Itachi or whatever, or getting power, whatever he wanted, he understood that even though he may like specific people, if they are not about his mission, that it literally becomes inefficient and very immature to have them around. Why would you have them around? They offer no value. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, one of the worst things that could ever happen to you in your battles, right? And when I say battles, I mean just going through life in general, just going after and conquering your goals and dreams. You're going to have adversaries. You're going to have things come up that get in the way. But when you go to battle, the worst thing possible that could ever happen to you is to discover that half of your army, half of your resources, half of the people that you thought were on your team desert because they're not on your team. The last thing that you want to do is be like, okay, I have this person, I have that person. We're going to go to battle. I can rely on this person. They're going to help me. They're going to give me resources. They're going to give me value. And then you finally show up to go after your goals and your dreams, and they are a no-show. They dip. They leave you behind. They leave you for dead. That will guarantee defeat. So once again, you need to become very binary and understand who is on your team, who will actually fight with you, and who is not. There should never ever be a gray zone. Before battle, you must understand your allies and your enemies. Never have anyone in between. All right, so as you can see by the title of this module is called Declare War, because I want to talk about a very beautiful topic that you need to understand, and also just a mindset paradigm that you must ingrain within yourself if you want to understand Sasuke, but more so adopt a very attack-oriented mindset within your own life so that you can become your highest version. So one of the books that I've been reading recently is Robert Greene's 33 Strategies of War, and I'm going to be referencing his first chapter, which is one of my favorite chapters in the book, which is also called Declare War. And there were so many things that I highlighted in that chapter that are very, very practical, and also something that I saw Sasuke himself possess and utilize, and something that we can learn from and of course execute on ourselves. So all the little highlights that I took from that chapter, I'm going to read out to you and kind of give my commentary on it and take a deep dive into how we can actually utilize this information ourselves. So start quote Robert Greene. Life is endless battle and conflict, and you cannot fight effectively unless you can identify your enemies. People are subtle and evasive, disguising their intentions, pretending to be on your side. You need clarity. Learn to smoke out your enemies, to spot them by the signs and patterns that reveal hostility. Then once you have them in your sights, inwardly declare war. As the opposite poles of a magnet create motion, your enemies, your opposites, can fill you with a purpose and direction. As people who stand in your way, who represent what you loathe, people to react against, they are a source of energy. Do not be naive. With some enemies, there can be no compromise, no middle ground, end quote. Robert Greene is not lying in the slightest. Life is constant war. There's constant battle. There's constant conflicts. But here's the thing. You need to have the correct mindset about it. Not the contemporary pussy mindset that is our society, where everyone is trying to avoid suffering and avoid conflict and avoid battle, so where they just completely distract themselves with comfort and they just get eaten in real time by the people who run the world and the elites who own them, right? Everyone is trying to avoid conflict, which is why everyone is so obsessed with comfort. Do not adopt that mindset. The mindset that you need to have is that pain equals growth. I say it all the time. I said it in the Sasuke 1.0 course, and I'll say it in every course because it's facts. Pain equals growth. You must seek out battle, because it is through battle that, one, you identify who you are because you have an adversary. Two, you're able to see who are your allies and who are your enemies, so that you never have a gray zone and you understand completely who's on your team and who is against you. But three, and the most important, you can now grow as an individual, because when you go to war, when you go to battle, that is when you must strive. That is when you must push yourself. That is when you must overcome, right? And the only way to overcome is to go through that pain, that initial pain and suffering, and win the battle. When you go through battle, you grow. Robert Greene, start quote. Life is battle and struggle, and you will constantly find yourself facing bad situations, destructive relationships, dangerous engagements. How you confront those difficulties will determine your fate, end quote. Like I just said, pain equals growth. Battle is your opportunity to grow. Battle is your opportunity to evolve. But our society has done the complete opposite, which is never seek out battle, never seek out pain, never seek to grow. Somehow you're supposed to grow, just constantly being in comfort and never ever having to do anything that requires evolvement. This is the destruction of mankind. Is pleasure. It's dopamine. It's constant seeking of instant gratification. That is hell, right? And like Robert Greene said in that quote, it is the way that you deal with battle that will decide your fate. And as we know, 99% of most people are dealing with battle by never even entering battle. How will you decide to go about it? Robert Greene, start quote. Think of yourself as always about to go into battle. Everything depends on your frame of mind and how you look at the world. A shift of perspective can transform you from a passive and confused mercenary into a motivated and creative fighter, end quote. So then Robert Greene goes into another part of the same chapter where he starts to talk about how battle actually allows an individual to find themselves. It allows an individual to understand oneself, to know what they stand for and what things that they believe in and truly, truly believe in. Not what you think you believe in, but what you actually believe in. And you can find this by going through battle. And this was extremely interesting to me because I'm a huge advocate of understanding oneself, obviously going through and finding your life purpose, your life journey, what you stand for, your personal credo, like we talk about in the Madara Life Purpose course. And this was a very refreshing perspective that I never thought about and that I want to take a deep dive in right now. Robert Greene, start quote. Your enemy is the polar star that guides you. Given that direction, you can now enter battle. End quote. What I like about that quote is it's a very simplistic way of trying to figure out what you want to do in life, right? Some people, or if not most people, have no idea what they want to do in life or which direction they should take, what path they should take next for their journey in life. And one of the easiest ways to figure it out is to simply ask yourself, what do I dislike? What things do I not like? Everyone has things, a full list of things that they do not like, that they dislike. And so by understanding those things, by simply writing the things down that you dislike, now you have an enemy. Like Robert Greene said, a polar star. And now you know which direction that you don't want to walk in. So all you have to do is just walk in the opposite direction. Very easy and simplistic way of figuring out what you want to do in life, or on a very more micro scale, understanding which direction you should go in right here, right now, in your current stage of your journey of life. Now, this next part is extremely interesting, and I absolutely fell in love with this part. I reread this part over and over and over again in that first chapter, Declare War, of Robert Greene's 33 Strategies of War, because this goes back to what I was saying about gray zone, right? Every human being since the dawn of human time always knew who was their ally and who was their enemy. Until recently. Now everyone is just so afraid of battle, so afraid of conflict, so afraid of confrontation that everyone simply they just have all these gray zone people hanging around them, right? And the reason for that, the biggest reason why people are afraid of conflict and confrontation is because people care what other people think, right? The reason why most people cannot simply just be polarizing and be binary the same way Sasuke was is because they care what people think. The reason Sasuke was able to remove Naruto from his life, remove Team 7 from his life, remove the entire Hidden Leaf village from his life was because he doesn't care what people think, right? So he didn't need them to like him in order to go accomplish his mission, which is the complete opposite of today's society, where everyone needs everyone to like them, even though it has no value in terms of them accomplishing their goals and dreams. Let me read out this quote to you. It's very powerful. I highly suggest that you re-listen to this module, and especially this quote that's coming up right here, right now. Robert Greene, start quote. But in the mind of the voter, which for a politician is the field of battle, a dominating presence has way more pull than just being liked. Let some of the public hate you. You cannot please everyone. Your enemies, those who stand sharply against you, will help you to forge a support base that will not desert you. Do not crowd into the center where everyone else is. Gray zone. There is no room to fight in a crowd. Polarize people, drive some of them away, and create a space for battle. End quote. Bro, tell me Robert Greene is not the most beautiful. I gotta meet the man. I got to meet the man. That was beautiful. beautiful. But it's complete facts, right? Like he said, when in like politics, right? When the politicians are going to war, they are polarizing. Everyone is polarizing. In order for there to be Democrats, there has to be Republicans. In order for Donald Trump to be a Republican, he needs the Democrats to hate him, right? Every single human being since the dawn of human history, if you go through all the most famous people of earth, including those who did nothing but good, like Jesus or Gandhi or the Buddha or Muhammad or Martin Luther King, whatever, or Mother Teresa, whoever, right? All of them had battle. They had a polarizing force against them. They had people that utterly hated them and people that ruthlessly loved them. But there was never a gray zone. And if there was a gray zone, it was very small, right? Like Robert says, where was it? He says, do not crowd into the center where everyone else is, because you cannot fight in a crowd. You see, if you're trying to find yourself as a human being, and especially if you're trying to build some sort of influence, some sort of recognition, you cannot be in the center. There needs to be a polarizing force, right? And what I love what he says next, right? He says, by being polarizing and driving people away, you create space for battle, right? When your enemies stand sharply against you, they will help you to forge a support base that would not desert you. If you look at someone like an Andrew Tate, right? Andrew Tate, currently, as I'm recording this right now, Andrew Tate is probably the most famous man on the planet. Why? Because of the polarization. There is people who utterly hate him, an army against him, and there is an army completely and ruthlessly die hard for him. And it is like that for every single influential person on the planet. There is never a gray zone. There's never a gray zone. And if there is a gray zone, it is very, very slim for individuals who bring huge influence and recognition. So it doesn't matter what you do in life. If you want to become the best at whatever said thing that you want to become the best at, you must be polarizing and you must create space for battle. You must know your adversary. And most importantly, you must never shy away from building that adversary, because it is that adversary that will give you your loyal supporters, will give you your army. Does that make sense? Oh, we're not even done, bro. Robert Greene, he's a genius, right? He's a genius, and I have to go through this. All right. Robert Greene, start quote. Everything in life conspires to push you into the center, gray zone, and not just politically. The center is the realm of compromise. Getting along with other people is an important skill to have, but it comes with the danger. By always seeking a path of least resistance, the path of conciliation, you forget who you are and you sink into the center with everyone else. Instead, see yourself as a fighter, an outsider surrounded by enemies. Constant battle will keep you strong and alert. It will help to define what you believe in, both for yourself and for others. Do not worry about antagonizing people. Without antagonism, there is no battle. And without battle, there is no chance of victory. Do not be lured by the need to be liked by other people. Better to be respected, even feared. Victory over your enemies will bring you a lot more lasting popularity. End quote. See, what Robert Greene is saying is extremely, extremely powerful. And this was a huge mind paradigm shift that I had to have recently, or more so just understand, because he broke it down so beautifully, right? If you're trying to be liked by everybody, not only is that completely futile, but it's going against you because you can't fight battles. And like he says, without battle, there is no victory. You cannot win at life without battle. So this explains why everyone is not able to do anything or accomplish anything in their own individual lives. Explains why the majority of humanity is so insignificant as individuals, because they don't seek out any battle. They're scared of confrontation. They want to be liked by everybody, right? They're not individuals. They're groupthink. They're sheep. And so, like he says, sheep are crowds. Crowds, when you're in the middle of a crowd in the center, you cannot fight, right? There needs to be space in between, aka polarization, in order for there to be battle, and especially in order for there to be victory. So my advice to you, and this is something that I've been dealing with my personal students, right? I have a lot of students who they feel the need to be liked by everybody. I mean, this is something that is happening with just about every single person in our society, right? The feeling to be liked by everybody. For some reason, we feel that is an inherent value or something that is actually valuable in the first place when it's not. But more so by understanding that The more polarizing you are, the better chance you have of leaving legacy, of leaving influence in a positive way. The more you understand this mindset, the more you can now start to completely remove the stigma of trying to be liked by other people. The more you can now allow yourself to be disliked by other people. So when people are talking behind your back, you don't care anymore because you understand you need that. You need that to know who you are. How do you know what you stand for? How do you know what you believe in if you simply just adopt the beliefs and the mindsets of everybody just so you can be liked? Once again, like Robert said, the crowd is where battles are never fought. The crowd is where polarization never exists. The crowd is where 99.9% of all humanity exists, and that is why all of them will die and no one will ever remember their name or what they stood for, what they believed in, and they will leave no significance on this planet because there was never any polarization in their life. They simply wanted comfort. They simply wanted to fit in. Tying this back to Sasuke Uchiha, Sasuke was willing to make that leap of faith. He was willing to make that decision to cut off people, to remove that gray zone, and to create a polarization between him and his enemies, right? So that he could go off and do something significant, which was take out the massacre person, the terrorist rather, of the massacre of the Uchiha clan, his brother Itachi Uchiha. If Sasuke was trying to be liked by every single human being on the planet, it would have taken him a great deal longer to have accomplished that goal. It would have slowed him down. It would have made him very slow to gaining power, to making the right allies, making the right connections. He was able to meet the Sound Force Shinobi. He was able to meet Orochimaru. He was able to meet Obito Uchiha. All that came through him creating that polarization. Now, once again, Sasuke is kind of a controversial example or reference, so to speak, because the things that he was doing was for bad. But he's a perfect example of creating that polarization so that you can move with speed and efficiency towards your goal. Sasuke sought out battle. He sought it out. He was actively seeking for it because he understood that through battle, through fighting against Deidara, through fighting against whoever, Danzo, whoever, he was able to get closer to his goals in life. It is through battle, it is through pain where you're able to, one, find yourself, two, know your allies, know your enemies, but three, most importantly, it is through battle where you are able to grow. Robert Greene, start quote. The child psychologist Jean Piaget saw conflict as a critical part of mental development. Through battles with peers and then parents, children learn to adapt to the world and develop strategies for dealing with problems. Those children who seek to avoid conflict at all costs, or those who have an overprotective parent, end up handicapped socially and mentally. The same is true of adults. It is through your battles with others that you learn what works, what doesn't, and how to protect yourself. Instead of shrinking from the idea of having enemies, you should instead embrace it. Conflict is therapeutic, end quote. Man, that is something else. It's a mind paradigm that I've never seen before, right? Because it's so rare in our society. That last line, conflict is therapeutic. I love what he said about children, right? Because this is the weakest generation, Generation Z, after the millennials. This is the weakest generation of human beings to ever exist. And I mean, this paragraph pretty much breaks it down holistically as to why that is. It's comfort, right? It's comfort in everyone seeking to avoid conflict at all costs. Like Robert said, those children who seek to avoid conflict at all costs, or those children who have very overprotective parents, end up handicapped socially and mentally. And this is not him speaking out of his ass. This is a statistical fact. This is the weakest generation ever in human history, right? Because no one of this generation has social skills. No one in this generation can go approach a girl and say hello. No one can go talk to people, look people in the eye, have dominating presence and good body language. It's screwed because everyone is overprotected and everyone is seeking comfort and seeking to avoid conflict at all costs. If you don't want to end up like the rest of your peers in this weak generation, this weak society, be like Sasuke and create polarization. There's not anything wrong with having people dislike you. In fact, if anything, it will make you more polarizing. It will show you who your allies are, give you more influence, make you have a more lasting effect on people. You know, like I say all the time, one of my most popular quotes, pain equals growth. And like Robert Greene says in that last sentence, conflict can be therapeutic. Learn to declare war.